Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling great out there, having a fantastic start to your day, and a great week out there so far. Thank y'all for tuning in this morning, making me part of your routine as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your Wednesday. We got a few things to talk about, one being a lot of rain in the state of Florida, especially South Florida, that could see inches of rain today. We'll speak in detail on that. A widespread light rain across the southeast also, which continues to be needed. We have rain that will move into the California coastline, even areas of Southern Cal. Areas of Northern California has seen some rain, even some higher elevation snow, but Southern California can get into the rain action later this morning into this afternoon. We'll give you the information on that, and then we'll talk about the entire lower 48 as a whole. And then stay tuned for the second half of the video, guys. I got you an update on the tropics. And then I got you an update on what potentially can unfold next week. We all know next week is Thanksgiving week. A lot of people will be traveling before and after Thanksgiving, our own Thanksgiving. So a lot of folks want to know what's going to happen weather-wise. What am I going to be driving through? Is it going to be rain, snow? Nothing. So we're going to try to figure that out, and we'll get you a very detailed update on that probably in tonight's video. But we're going to give you guys some great information in this video too. I can tell you confidence is certainly increasing in one thing, and that's the fact that we're going to have below average temperatures in one portion of the country. So we'll speak on that especially in this video. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. And I'll pray over it, and I promise you others will do so too. Welcome to any new people to the channel, new subscribers, and thank y'all for choosing this channel to view. So let's get rolling here. Let's see if our clicker's going to work. And it is, so we're good to go. You see all the white down here? I'll put a check mark over it. That is a lot of moisture from a developing low pressure in areas of the central and eastern Gulf of Mexico, and this is really overspreading a lot of rains, and will really overspread a lot of rains across South Florida, especially later today, and this will continue to move across the state of Florida, and then you will have a chance for a stronger low to develop off the coast of the southeast. In fact, the National Hurricane Center has actually made this kind of an area of interest, if you will. There's a chance this could develop. Now, the chances are very low that this really gains any tropical characteristics, but they do have an area of interest out there. We'll speak on that when we get to the update on the tropics. But a lot of moisture is returning over areas of the southeast, so you're probably waking up to, I wouldn't say humid conditions, but it's probably a little bit more moist out there, especially the further south you work, like into the low country of South Carolina, southern sections of Georgia. Moisture is starting to build back in. Now, will it rain? That's what we got to figure out. Now, the Northeast, pretty quiet, just a little bit of moisture kind of making its way across areas of Canada, but not a whole lot's actually coming to the ground. And then we have a surge of moisture that is going to enter the California coastline later today, and this will fall in the form of rain and some very high elevation snow. So the middle of the country still continues to be very quiet. Okay, so we'll get this off your screen. We'll talk about what's actually falling out there from the sky. And, it shows rain all the way up into Charlotte, Columbia. Like, it shows rain over my house right now here in Columbia, but it's not raining. A lot of this light rain you're seeing in South Carolina is not actually falling. Just the way this radar is on this site. But this rain down here in Florida is falling, southern areas of Georgia, especially southern Alabama, and there's a lot of heavy rain. In fact, there was a tornado warning in areas of the Florida Keys at least about 30 minutes ago when I was preparing this video. But there's a lot of moisture down here in the southeast. We'll get detailed on that. A lot of moisture still off the coastline of California. Some of it is reaching the northern coastline of California. Got a little bit of rain shower, high elevation snow shower activity in the Pacific Northwest, but we will see a lot more moisture that moves in, like I said, into the California coastline later today. And like I said, the middle of the country continues to be rather quiet. It's been quiet for some time and continues to be the case. The Storm Prediction Center, there is a risk of thunderstorms today in areas of California. In fact, I'll show you why here in a second. I mean, there's looks like some robust convection that will move into the state of California, and then we do have a risk of some thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast into the central and southern areas of Florida. But the big time thunderstorm activity is well off into the Gulf of Mexico. But some of these will have enough kind of oomph in the atmosphere, enough thermodynamics to be in the form of some thunderstorm activity in areas in the green that you see. But there's no big risk of severe weather. But of course, we can't rule out a severe thunderstorm warning. Flash flooding. You have to look really hard, but if you look way down here in areas kind of around the Miami region, in fact, centered right over the Miami region, you have a moderate risk of flooding, guys. It's probably the most active thing we've seen as far as, something that could, threaten your lives or any kind of, or just cause flash flooding. And I really wouldn't consider this huge by any means if you just got to be prepared, but we could definitely see some flash flooding. In fact, I could see us getting into this afternoon, this evening, and starting to see some social media posts out of the Miami area and surrounding regions of some flash flooding occurring. We've seen it happen before with a tropical system, I believe last year. So please be prepared. If you're in the Miami area, South Florida, just in general, especially the southeast areas of Florida, you guys could see inches of rain today. I'm talking about 4 to 6 inches of rain. So you have a 40% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles at any given point in this red area. 15% risk of the same criteria in the yellow region. Watches and warnings, of course, you do have those flood watches down here in response to all this heavy rain predicted today. So flood watches are up for the eastern coastline of Florida all the way down to Miami and all the way down to Miami, all the way to the southern tip of Florida. Almost said all the way to the southern tip of Miami. But dense fog down here in areas of the south central U.S., southern high plains. And you do have some winter weather advisories up in Montana and one gigantic county in Idaho. It's always windy, it seems like, in southeast Wyoming this time of year. So you do have high wind watches and warnings. Even one winter weather advisory is up for this region. And then you have some wind advisories up for areas of the California coastline where it could be breezy today here in the southern coastline of Cal today. But speaking of the southeast, let's talk about you folks first. A lot of storm activity off the coastline. Thankfully, typically around this low pressure, I wouldn't be surprised. You got a lot of waterspout activity way, way out into the Gulf of Mexico, but it will continue just to be widespread light to moderate rain across southern areas of Alabama, especially southwest Georgia. There will be kind of a break today, but there will be no break in southern sections of Florida. Heavy rain will continue to just make its way into the area and just develop over the region. I'm talking about torrential downpours, guys. A lot of heavy rain. Widespread, just light, maybe at times moderate rain across southern sections of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. Some light rain, maybe some heavier burst of rain could make its way into the low country of South Carolina later this evening. And some light rain could make it all the way up into southern Kentucky. And then as we're waking up tomorrow morning, some scattered light rain showers from Columbia to Augusta to Atlanta to Birmingham, or it's quite possible. And then we have another area of rain starting to move into the panhandle of Florida. But let's go on and zoom into our folks down here in Florida. There's not a whole lot going on right now, but as we start to get later in the morning hours around lunchtime, this is when we start to get a lot of activity that moves into the region, okay? We could get some beneficial rains, around those drought-stricken areas of Tampa Bay, especially points south where we have, I believe, an extreme drought in certain areas, certainly a severe drought. So you're going to get a chance of rains, but unfortunately, most of this will stay kind of to the southern areas of Florida. But we'll continue to get into this afternoon. Very heavy rain just off the coastline. Maybe we can get some of this to push into the region of the west coast of Florida. But man, it is raining like raining cats and dogs out here in South Florida. It really is. This is 5 p.m. Nasty rush hour. Continues to fall this evening. Continues to fall overnight. Continues to fall even waking up tomorrow morning. Then you might get a break. Okay? So it might be a break tomorrow morning, kind of like how there's a break right now. But between now and just tomorrow morning, guys, they're going for over 6 inches of rain from the National Weather Service in the Miami area. Okay, significantly drops off once you get up the coastline, but still 1 to 2 inches of rain. You guys could see more rain than this around the Tampa Bay, Clearwater region. You really could. So, don't look at just below a half an inch and say, man, that's not a lot. You could easily get more. You could pick up that in 10 minutes if you can get a kind of a storm that moves over the area, right? So you could get more rain. Hopefully you guys do, but man, it is a sure bet we're going to get a lot of rain down in the southern tip of Florida near Miami, that's for sure. So be careful with any flash flooding. We'll take a larger look at Florida today, and some more rain is likely going to fall and accumulate here in southern Alabama and the western panhandle, especially of Florida, central and western panhandle of Florida. So getting up to the Northeast, guys, it's quiet. It's crazy. I was reading, I believe 5 years ago today, areas of New Jersey, like New York City, Long Island, was dealing with a pretty significant early season snowstorm that caused that gridlock, I think around 5 o'clock. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise at how much snow actually fell and how the temperatures were colder than expected. But I'm sure you folks around the New York City area really remember that. It was an early season snowstorm. I think, the winter of 2018, 2019, that winter was kind of a weird winter where all the action really happened at the beginning of winter, and then the second half of winter really shut down. But yeah, that was a heavy hitter, but nothing like that this time 5 years later. God, just 2018 does not seem like 5 years ago, does it? It really doesn't. But you're getting into this afternoon, this evening. It's quiet. Could get some rain and snow shower activity that enters the northern half of Maine. But as we're getting through the rest of the night into tomorrow morning, it's a pretty quiet day up here in the Northeast. Not a whole lot going on. Remains pretty chilly. So pretty quiet there. The South Central U.S., everybody's pretty quiet. Some rain showers could wrap back into Mississippi throughout the afternoon and evening hours. And even could get some showers that kind of wrap all the way back into extreme eastern and kind of northeastern areas of Louisiana. But most of the South Central area continues to be quiet. The middle of the country from south to north continues to be very, very quiet. Almost eerily quiet. It really does. So continues to be the case. Not a whole lot going on. And it's the same thing for the North Central U.S., guys. Not a whole lot going on. Getting into this afternoon, this evening, getting into the overnight hours. As we're getting into tomorrow morning, a thin area of snow could make its way across the northern counties of North Dakota as a little bit of a system moves through. And this will kind of be just a system that really moves its way into Canada as we're getting into tomorrow. So it won't really bring anything much to the kind of the upper Midwest region, the Great Lakes region. Pretty quiet. Western U.S., a little bit of a different story. Nothing too crazy, but we got two areas to kind of mention here. One is an area developing precipitation in northern Idaho, southeast Washington, and then northwest areas of Montana. Higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. And then this precipitation could develop kind of the same extension, if you will, precipitation that will bring a little bit of light snow to areas of northern North Dakota into the wee hours of the morning, tomorrow morning, just in general. We could have some rain that switches to some snow in the northern half of the northern half of Montana into the overnight hours. So we'll watch out for that. There's areas that do have a winter weather advisory, and then we're waking up to moisture in northern Utah and southern sections of Wyoming and western Colorado, northern Arizona. But let's go on and work our way back to California, and let's go on and get a little bit closer. So we're starting off this morning. It's pretty quiet out there, not a whole lot going on, but as we're making our way into around lunchtime, this is when we start to get some showers that show up on radar. Starts to move into the San Diego region, up to LA, up to San Francisco, and everybody in between. The long coastline of California starts to get some heavy rains that pushes into the area. This isn't going to be a widespread rain. This will kind of move in and kind of spurts, if you will, but you could get some rumbles of thunder, maybe a flash of lightning. You could get some thunderstorms. You could, and this pushes into the region, especially becomes a lot more widespread later this afternoon. And then as we're getting deeper into the afternoon to the evening time frame, rain continues to push in into the California coastline, make its way inland into inland section of California, and we could get some higher elevation snowpack that starts building up, but not a lot of cold air to work with. So the lower elevations aren't getting as much snow from this, but you continue to just get rain showers that make their way throughout, dinner time. And we're getting into the overnight hours. You still are getting some light rains out there, and then we're waking up tomorrow morning, and there's still some rains kind of making their way into the California coastline. Then it looks like another system could bring another wave of moisture, but I don't think it'll be as intense as today. But, if you look at the National Weather Service, it doesn't show much rain. Of course, lift from these higher mountain peaks kind of just east of the bigger cities along the California coast. Could get more rain. But just in general, guys, you can get anywhere from a quarter to a half inch of rain. But certain areas could get more. I could see it, especially if you look at the HRRR model. It certainly looks like certain areas could pick up more rain than what this is showing. In fact, just look at the blend of all models. Shows kind of the same thing, honestly. It's almost identical to the National Weather Service. So just definitely be prepared for rain. I know you guys in Southern California don't get as much rain as typical, and my buddy Ron says that people, don't drive the best. Ron views, I know I mentioned Steven a lot in the UP of Michigan, Karen up in Montana, Ron down in San Diego. And, as we move through in time, the regulars, I will start to mention names. We got Mary down in Northeast Texas. That's just part of the different portion of this channel, is mentioning people's names that I know regularly tune in. But it's cool to have somebody from San Diego. It's an area of the country I don't talk about much because San Diego is just quiet weather. But speaking of Montana, some higher elevation snow will add up. Those typical higher mountain peaks in western Montana, feet of snow, but you could get a couple inches of snow, even, as you 1 to 2 inches of snow as you get into northern sections of Montana. So a little bit of snow in Yellowstone National Park of northwest Wyoming. Temperatures today, you're warming up a little bit in the northeast, thawing out a little bit, but still 40s and some upper 30s. But, those sub-freezing high temperatures in Montana, Vermont, the Adirondacks of New York State, that was widespread the last couple of days, it's kind of went away. But starting to warm up big time in the Ohio River Valley, getting into the 60s, low 70s. You got a pocket of cooler air in the deep south just due to the cloud cover and rain. And so just 60s, even just some 50s for highs. Atlanta, you might not get out the 50s today. And then, Florida, a little bit cooler today, just in the 70s from all this rain and cloud cover. But guys, it continues to be well above average in the middle of the country. I mean, you're almost getting up to 60 degrees a day in Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Green Bay could hit 60, especially Milwaukee. Chicago could definitely get into the low 60s. I mean, very, very warm for this time of the year in the UP of Michigan, well into the 50s. So yeah, I mean, just very, very quiet and warm as a ridge continues to dominate the middle portion of the country, and even above average out west. No real cold air, and that's why, even though you got moisture kind of scattered about in the western U.S., you're not getting a ton of snow in these maybe more lower elevations. So that's what's going to happen today. Let's go on and give you an update on the tropics. You got two areas. You got this that has dropped. Remember, we've been talking about this area that could develop and bring some tropical rains to Jamaica and just the greater Antilles just in general. The good news is the chances of this actually developing into a depression or named storm has dropped. So the chances of us taking that name Vince or either Whitney afterwards has dropped. So maybe we just don't finish out the alphabet. We'll see. But there's a new area, okay? This now has a 10% chance to develop, saying an area of low pressure is expected to deepen, strengthen off the coast of the southeast, and there's an outside chance, literally way outside, 10% risk that this could develop into some sort of tropical system or subtropical system, really subtropical. But this is kind of going to be the coastal system that ends up making a close pass to New England, but I think will really affect areas of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So you folks up there, we'll give you an update on this tonight, more than likely. The evening, this week is busy. I'm in the process of putting up the Christmas lights. The weather's starting to pick up a little bit more, so pumping out these evening videos. So yeah, it's there's a lot going on. It's all good things though. But to kind of give you an update on what's going on, there's all the convection down here in the Caribbean. This will kind of continue to move north or northeast, and then this is all of our moisture over the southeast. So this is that low pressure that will cross over Florida, then deepen off the coast of the southeast right here in this region. So this is, your classic looking southern low, if you will. To me, this looks like kind of the satellite of what a winter storm in the southeast looks like. But anyways, we're not in winter. I'm daydreaming here, but it is cool. Look at these clouds screeching down with this trough digging down into the eastern U.S. It's really neat to see. But anyways, just kind of giving you the idea what this looks like. And here's all this moisture down here. We'll start off this evening and kind of develops a low pressure. GFS is still trying to say this could deepen all the way to a 1,000 millibar low pressure this weekend. It's going to bring a lot of rains to the greater Antilles. Really, the Dominican Republic could bring some heavy rains to Jamaica. But there's that low pressure right here that has a 10% chance to develop into a sub or tropical system. But more than likely it won't, guys. But both systems head on out, get on out the way, and then we're done with them by the time we get in early next week. So Let's take a deep breath. Let's give you some updated information on what's coming up next week. So I can tell you guys, and I mentioned this yesterday, not to toot my own horn, but, because everybody saw it coming and not just me. But, we mentioned, and I posted this in the community tab on my YouTube channel, that the Climate Prediction Center would do a complete 180, and it has. We went from thinking we were going to have above average temperatures Thanksgiving week to below average temperatures. And, this is from the 22nd through the 28th. So this takes us through midway next week, all the way through the weekend. So not only does it look like we're going to get below average temperatures, but I could see a period of below average temperatures that kind of lasts throughout the rest of November. So, definitely interesting times come up. This doesn't necessarily mean snow. Just keep that in mind, especially for the south. Now, for the north, we got to watch, but the chances are getting pretty high in confidence. In fact, I think that it'll even get doubled down today on the next update at 3 p.m. And, yeah, guys. And if you folks think that you guys don't have access to stuff like what you're seeing on your screen, you guys do. All you got to do is type in literally in Google, NWS Climate Prediction Center. And a new one updates at 3 p.m., around 3 p.m. almost every single day. This was issued yesterday. And you guys have access to this. Now, stuff on like Weather Bell, like this stuff right here, it costs monthly. You got to have a subscription. But Tropical Tidbits, which I show almost every single, in fact, I show it every single video. Guys, that's free. It's kind of tricky to figure out, but it's free. But anyways, getting off track here. But in general, what we're looking at is we look at the GFS ensemble, all right? You see the big blue blob on your screen. You think, oh, Mitch, man, it's just going to snow in Oklahoma and Texas. No, that's not what it means. This is just low pressure, okay? In the orange, it's high pressure, right? We keep this in motion. To me, this looks like almost like an upper trough trying to develop. It looks like you just got some kind of storm system in the southern portion of the country. All right. But then the jet really begins to dig right into here. And this turns into a full-fledged upper trough, which means we're getting a big dip in the jet stream. So if we look right here, tall ridge up here, and this is digging down, you have a jet digging down here kind of like this. So typically this means we have a shot of cold air and the potential for some sort of storm system to develop at the base of this digging trough, which is a digging jet stream, which think of that as the storm track that is digging down here along this pink arrows that I just drew. Okay, let's get this off your screen. So we'll stop this, and this is the evening of next Tuesday, the 21st. Okay, and we got a tall ridge out west, and we have a trough in the east. It's called a positive PNA, and this is something you would love to see if you're a winter weather fan deep into December, tongue twister, or January or February. Okay, but we're getting it in mid to late November. So what's going to happen with this? Well, this continues, and it continues to amplify, broaden. I mean, this lasts all the way through. And typically, just because you see blue over your area, that doesn't mean you have below average temperatures. Typically, most of the time it does mean that, but there's a trailing cold front typically behind storm systems. It's so much deeper than what it seems, guys, sometimes. But in general, we're getting into Thanksgiving Eve. You got a deep trough right over the eastern U.S., probably cooler than average temperatures moving in. And we get into Thanksgiving morning, guys, and this is a pretty big signal for cooler than average temperatures. What kind of storm system are we going to have? Okay, that's a big question, all right? And this continues, guys. And really you start to move a little bit on down the road, and it looks like a ridge tries to flex into the eastern U.S., but it looks like you have another drop of cold air sometime into next weekend. Where is that going to drop? We're not sure. But I can tell you the European ensemble shows kind of the same thing. So in response, for example, I want to show you something real quick. This is next, let's stop it right here. This is next Tuesday morning, right? So that's the European ensemble. Let's go on and back it up the next Tuesday morning. No, that's Thursday morning. All right, let's look right here. Okay, so you look right here. You got a big blue blob. It looks like this is about to turn into a full-fledged dip of the jet right here. Big blue blob over the deep south, right? Low pressure. All right, you look at this and you think, man, we're getting cold conditions in the deep south. It's not what it means. If you look right up here, same time frame. Above average temperatures. So when this trough digs down, you have a cold front associated with it, and it's not always a direct response from the big blue blob on your screen. Okay, it's always like maybe a 1 or 2 day lag where the cold front follows through after a storm system. Think of this blue as a low pressure storminess. Okay, so you keep this moving here. Okay, you get this blob that moves into Wednesday. All right, and then you take the temperature anomalies and you move into Wednesday, and there's the response. Below average temperatures start to show up. Like one day later, it totally flips. And then you get into Thanksgiving Day, and this is the middle of the day, Thanksgiving Day, and below average temperatures are dominating anywhere from the northern plains all the way across the middle of the country into the eastern U.S. Cold air really spills in behind this trough, and dominates through the weekend. And even getting into next week, guys, I mean, below average temperatures showing up for the middle of the country. So we're about to get a significant pattern flip. So you ask, Mitch, what about rain or snow? Well, all we can really tell you right now is we got a system that starts to crank up over the middle of the country Monday. All right, there it is. It's all rain for Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, the Mississippi Valley. Okay, the GFS really has this strung out. You got and we're going to talk about this tonight. You got two pieces of energy. You got the southern stream and the northern stream. The GFS says, okay, this is going to be a northern stream dominated storm. So it'll take the cold air associated with the northern stream up here, and you have the potential, based off the GFS, for some snow getting into somewhere in the Ohio River Valley, the interior sections of the Northeast, getting into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for the interior areas of the Northeast. Now it's too warm for snow, like in the big cities along the I-95 corridor in the Northeast. But you go right out the road inland, GFS is saying, hey, some wet snow. Then you get the cold air that kind of makes its way and behind it. Okay, a lot of cold air up to the north, and then you get another system that rides in sometime on Thanksgiving. The GFS is saying, hey, you could potentially get a rainy Thanksgiving in the southeast. This is right in the afternoon, right? If you're sitting out, I've always wanted to do Thanksgiving outside, long table, kind of like the Peanuts, Snoop, man, I'm brain farting here, but you know what I'm talking about, guys. The Snoop, man, I am seriously getting tongue twisted here. But Charlie Brown, wow. There you go. I always wanted to do a setup like that. Not eat what they eat, but I always thought that's always been my favorite episode, the Thanksgiving episode. Anyways, if you're trying to do that in the Southeast, it's going to be difficult. Backyard football game, going to be difficult. But this isn't a forecast. It's still 200 hours out. All right, but you got some interesting features. You got some kind of piece of energy down here trying to connect with this. But this would bring some rainy times. And then you got a lot of chilly air that really settles down to the country after Thanksgiving. Now, what about the European? Same system, right? Okay, but the European, as we're getting into Monday, a lot of rain right over the middle of the country. European is a bigger system, much bigger system. You got a sub 1,000 millibar low pressure plowing right through the Ohio Valley and areas of the Midwest, but it's a much warmer system. In fact, this would bring a risk of thunderstorms to areas of the Southeast as we get into early next Thanksgiving week. This would bring a big winter storm for areas of eastern Canada, but way too warm for the Northeast. And then there's a cold shot of air behind it that really cranks up those lake effect snows, as we are getting into next weekend. So I think the Euro and GFS are trying to meet somewhere, but we got to see who wins. It's a lot to figure out. I got a lot more detailed on that than what I planned on, but I always do, guys. You know how I do. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you most likely this evening.